Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm Chris Tiu. I am a former professional basketball player, and I started playing basketball at the age of 7. I played 5 years in college for the Ateneo de Manila University, and thereafter I played 10 years professionally, 4 years of which I played in the national team. And 6 years I played in the PBA, Philippine Basketball Association, a pro league in the Philippines. For a team called the Rain or Shine. So I retired 2 years ago, and now I am an entrepreneur and father of 2 daughters. Okay, so today I'll talk a little bit about my experiences through sport and why I would encourage, advocate sport especially amongst the youth, and also for parents and why they should encourage their kids to get into sport. So like what I said, I'm thankful that God has brought basketball to my life at the early age of 7, thanks to my parents who really exposed me to the sport by playing just very casually in the park with family, with their cousins, and through watching NBA at the time on TV. There was nothing really other than basketball to watch. I became really passionate and crazy about it and started to play it even more. And I am thankful again because I believe that who I am today is largely because of the sport and what I've learned from it through how many years of my life, practically my whole life. I'm 35 years old now. I started at 7, so 28 years of playing. Yeah, so today I'll talk a little bit about, like what I said, my experiences and why I believe sports creates or can create champions in life because of the experiences of winning and losing. And, like I said, I really advocate sport, especially amongst the youth, because of the qualities and the virtues that can be learned from it, that we don't necessarily learn in the classrooms or at home. These values, virtues, we know already. I'll name a few of them: discipline, sacrifice, humility, perseverance, courage, teamwork, integrity. All these qualities we know we need in order to go out in the game called life. And sports is a metaphor of life, I always say, a great simulation of what it's like out there. Discipline, let's talk about discipline very briefly. Sport gives us an opportunity to develop discipline, especially playing a team sport. We need to be punctual all the time. We need, as a student athlete, we need to fulfill our responsibilities and obligations both as a student and athlete, submitting homeworks and projects before deadline, even if we're swamped with trainings and we're physically and emotionally tired. Getting up for training early in the morning, even if we don't feel like it and we're just feeling lethargic. Making sacrifices, not going out with friends on because you have a competition the next day, or just making sure you get enough rest so you're physically fit. If we have a goal or an objective, such as winning a sort of competition or being champion in a sport, then it sort of allows us to develop that discipline, and where hopefully it becomes a habit as we go along in life. Second, humility, like Jesus would always remind us, is to be humble and to be servant leaders. For example, this world, whether we like it or not, celebrates and recognizes individual accolades, championships, MVP awards, scoring titles for basketball. And as humans, we can easily get lured into that that kind of thinking, no. But that's why it is very important to have good mentors, coaches, parents to to give proper guidance on how to behave when we win, you know, and similarly when we lose, you know, how do we handle defeat? Do we make excuses or do we act graciously? Next will be perseverance. You know, again, another very important quality that needs to be developed, especially amongst the youth, I believe, where in this instantaneous world, things are easily within our grasp. And, you know, in sport, we lose several times. We go through failure, we go through injuries and struggles individually and as a team. But the question is, what do we do? How do we handle it? Do we make 100 excuses? It's easy to make excuses. Do we blame other people? Or do we dig deep and look really, what could I have done better? And then rising above the occasion. So again, through sport, there'll be many moments of this where you can sort of practice on how becoming persevering and patient also, not being patient in achieving your goals. You will lose many more times before you actually win, or maybe never even win. Courage. Many times we like to stay in our comfort zones, but again, through sport, we go beyond what we even think we could do sometimes. No, teamwork. Life is all about working with teams. We through sport, through a team sport more so, we learn to play our different roles as a leader, as a star player, as a role player, and do that role to the best of our abilities in order for the team to reach its goal. Integrity, you know, would be when we don't do shortcuts, or we are completely honest with ourselves or with our teammates, even when nobody's looking. You know, playing by the rules, for example. And these are some of the virtues and qualities that, you know, I believe are important for individuals to be able to go out to life and to, you know, to be able to live life to the fullest. And that's the beauty of sports, no? So we get a chance to develop these qualities, which practiced habitually eventually becomes a virtue, no? So, and at the same time, what's so beautiful about the sport is that with all these difficulties and struggles and sacrifices and losing, when we finally win that and reach our goal, that feeling of triumph and success is just so exhilarating and so so joyful. You know, I don't even know I have the right words to describe it, but you know, if you would ask me, or even if you would ask other athletes, I would, what is your most memorable moment in life? If you ask me, aside from marrying my wife and seeing my child delivered to this world, it would have to be winning that basketball championship for my college team, Ateneo, and the national team. And I can, it's been so many years, but I can still remember those memories so vividly, and the feeling of winning. So yeah, in 2008, when I was playing for Ateneo as in my senior year, that was my last year. And before that, we were losing. We had not won a championship in my prior 4 years, and we had many heartbreaking defeats. There was so much pressure from the fans and the alumni, and you could feel their disappointment and how close we would get. But finally, after all the sacrifices and just persevering and learning from the past, we finally won the championship in 2008 to the joy of the whole community, and national television. And it was sweeter, even sweeter, because we won it against our arch rivals, LaSalle. So that has to be, one of the highlights of my life. All right. So we talked about the joys of winning and the qualities needed to be a champion, no? Or a winner. Now let's talk about what I believe is equally, or if not more important, no, the losing part, uh, and which I feel is extremely relevant today, especially when there's a lot of mental health um, and depression um, that's that the young ones are experiencing. In sports, you learn to lose, and you lose many times, from small defeats in training to small tournaments to big defeats, championship games in college, professional, or even international games. And I've had my fair share of defeats um, at all levels, and it's definitely taught me so many things. No, my wife would tell me that I'm so lucky that I didn't have to go through uh, heartbreaks in relationship, because I didn't have any other girlfriend except for her, and then who's now my wife, right? But I said, actually, I may not have experienced heartbreaks in relationships, but on the basketball court, I've experienced many, many more. And I don't know if it's more painful, but I would think it would be the same, or maybe even worse, because it is heartbreaking, and it takes weeks and months to get over it, even years. And these defeats are also so vivid still, in my mind. Um, One of which, in the UAAP championship when I was a junior in 2006 against UST, where it was game 3, a do or die game, and a season where we were really the favorites and we were expected to win. We were in control of, and practically spotless throughout the eliminations. And in the finals, we were up 1-0. We lost game 2. In game 3, we were in control of the game, but the game went to overtime, and down the wire. Uh, we were down by 1, and my teammate, our superstar, who had a point blank shot, which he normally makes all the time, missed it, and the buzzer goes off, and it's the end of the game, and we just lost the championship just like that. It was painful. And even in international competition, losing against Korea in the Olympic qualifier in 2011, that was a battle for third. And if we had won that game, of course, not only would we have brought home a medal for the country, but we would have a chance to compete in the wild card for the Olympic qualifier, which we had prepared for 3 years prior to that. This program was formed 3 years prior for the sole objective of making it to the Olympics in that tournament. And so we were so close. We had the game under control. We were up by 8 in the last 2 minutes. One thing led to another. I got fouled out because a terrible call, which was definitely a mistake. The other team got hot and they started raining 3-pointers. We still had one last chance with 2 free throws from one of my teammates, and he missed, and that's it. The game ended, and we lost just like that. And again, we were in tears. It was really heartbreaking, and took me many months, even years, to get over. And what it made me realize, and sorry, before and even after that, there's so many more which I thought, I learned. I got stronger and accepted all these things that happened that are beyond their control. And sometimes we feel like it's, unjust, because it was unfair. We didn't deserve it. But we come to realize that God does have a better plan for us in His perfect time. We may not realize it right there and then, but after um, praying and reflecting, we become more accepting of God's will, of God's plan. And I think this is the value and the beauty of sport, and going through defeats many times at different levels. We become more resilient and more accepting of God's plan, like what I said. Sometimes we I would like always think positive that these defeats would lead to, perhaps more successful year and competition after, but not all the time. No, and like I said, even after those painful defeats, you think you get better at it, but you lose again to Korea, China in the next tournaments, and it's just equally or even more painful still. So you go through it again, and again, it teaches you to, resilience. It teaches you to be persevering. Teaches you, ultimately, I believe, to trust in God and to trust in His plan for us. That He has a better plan for us in His perfect time, and we need to be patient. We need to talk to Him more, and communicate with Him. So this is perhaps one of the main reasons why I would wish and hope that more kids, or not just kids, but individuals, will get into sport. Because it's something that that teaches you. It teaches you how to lose, how to cope, and to deal with failure, with rejection, with disappointment, and seeking God's guidance and strength in the process. And for me, in today's world where we have things at an instant within our grasp, especially the young ones, with the technology and internet and everything so convenient, we tend to get used to that, and we get used to get things our way whenever we want them. And so I think that sport is definitely a good training ground to develop virtue and that closeness to God that is essential in order for us to go out in life, enjoy it, and to deal with the bumps that come along with it. So yeah, not everybody would have a career in sports. Some could be playing it at school or in their club, but either way, it is still a gift. And at the end of the day, it allows us to experience the joys of winning, hopefully. And more importantly, it teaches us how to lose and how to deal with losing. So thank you, everybody. Have a great day.